Drunken Master II was my VHS watch for the week, and this is a unique piece in my collection because I don't have any other Tai Seng VHS tapes. This is a defunct Hong Kong company. They were one of the first companies to import Hong Kong movies into the United States, is my understanding. I'm not an expert, but I found this at a thrift store a few months back and I had to grab it. I will say that this movie was so good that it's a rare case of maybe watching it on this VHS was not the best way to watch it because the subtitles are kind of janky, and also it was in a letterboxed widescreen format, which is not ideal to watch on a VCR on a CRT TV. So if you take my recommendation here, try to watch a more modern version of it. The movie starts with Jackie Chan and his father on a shopping expedition to buy materials for their apothecary, but one of their parcels is accidentally switched with an ancient relic that is being transported by some kind of shady corporation, and there's also a spy trying to steal the relic, and he accidentally steals Jackie Chan's ginseng. So the setup is pretty good here. You have different items belonging to different people that get all switched up right from the get-go. And what follows is a great mix of comedy, action, and drama. I've watched plenty of Hong Kong films, but I am by no means an expert, and this is actually, I believe, the first Jackie Chan film I've ever seen. And yes, that means I didn't see the first Drunken Master, but after a little bit of reading, I made the decision to just go ahead and watch this one. And I think that was fine. The title comes from the drunken fighting style that in the context of the film is somewhat forbidden, and that Jackie Chan's character has to actually drink alcohol to kind of activate his skills. And there's one scene in particular where it's basically like spinach to Popeye is alcohol to Jackie Chan's character, where he's just comedically chugging these jugs and bottles of booze to get his powers. I really enjoyed this movie, and I would really like to watch a more modern version of it with cleaner subtitles or maybe even a dub so I can pay more attention to the stunts and action. And also, I definitely want to see the other films in this series, as well as more Jackie Chan films. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night from 1995 is actually a movie that I was hesitant to cover because it is a very popular movie. I've seen it mentioned many times on YouTube and Twitter. There's plenty of podcasts about it. But once I watched it, I was so excited about it that I had to include it in this episode. I'm a big fan of the show from back in the day, and I'm also working on a rewatch of the series. This is an HBO anthology horror series from the 90s, actually started in the late 80s, which is based on the 1950s EC Comics brand of horror comics. Stories which were very controversial at the time, but are fun to read nowadays. One of the things that hooked me right away is that this movie is framed and starts off exactly like an episode of the show, with the whole intro in beautiful widescreen format, with a little bit of a fake out intro, including the Crypt Keeper himself, just like an episode of the show. The main story involves a character who is protecting a very special MacGuffin that is this kind of key that has blood in it, and he's being hunted by a character called the Collector, played by Billy Zane. Our main character takes up refuge in a seedy motel where he thinks the Collector won't find him. But of course, he is found, and that's where our standoff takes place as the Collector fights to retrieve the key. For me, this movie definitely lived up to its reputation. Billy Zane is amazing in this. He's very cool and slimy, but also evil, as he should be. The rest of the cast is great as well. You have Jada Pinkett, Dick Miller, Thomas Hayden Church, and a few others who play against each other very well. You can't tell in certain situations if characters have ulterior motives, if they're lying, they double cross each other, and you don't know who to trust. There's an interesting dose of Christian mythology in this movie as well. No doubt they took liberties with it, and I often wonder how blasphemous some of these movies are, but I didn't find it to be particularly offensive. I always think in stories where you have an ultimate good versus an ultimate evil, it's pretty hard to get that wrong. This movie is fun, it's funny, it's entertaining, it's full of great practical effects. If you're a fan of the show, you absolutely need to see it. But if you like horror movies in general, definitely check it out. But also go back and watch the show. It holds up. The Savage Hunt of King Stakh is a Belarusian horror film from 1980 that was relatively lost and unknown for a while, but was recently published by Deaf Crocodile, and I have the Blu-ray, so I wanted to check it out. This is a very moody and weird movie about a man who is doing research on local legends and comes across the matron of a family who has an ancient curse because one of her ancestors double-crossed and murdered King Stakh. And now she is the last of her bloodline, and all of her relatives have been murdered by the ghost of King Stakh and his ghost riders. This movie was awesome to me because it is a moody, slow burn, and it also has cultural mythology that I am not familiar with. And I am finding over the course of doing this show and seeing movies that have those elements that I really love this kind of thing. Why do I enjoy stories to which I do not have all of the context? I don't know, but I just do. I like seeing things that are foreign and unknown. Right at the beginning of this movie, there is a protection ritual being carried out on the matron, the final survivor, by one of her caretakers. And it was so beautifully bizarre that it just hooked me into the film right from the get-go. Now, does that mean I was lost at any point in the film? No. Our main character is very rational. He's an audience surrogate. He's trying to figure out things just as much as we are. And the main theme of this movie is kind of rationalism versus the paranormal, the supernatural. Are these spirits real? Is King Stakh actually hunting down the family that betrayed him? This was a movie where I really enjoyed the experience of watching the movie going in blind, and then I enjoyed even more watching the supplemental materials on the Blu-ray to learn more about the context, the history, the themes that I wasn't picking up on, that the source material intended on, that the adaptation intended on. And maybe that's why I love a movie like this, because it has legs after the fact, where I can dig a little deeper and find out what was going on that I couldn't see because I didn't have the cultural context. But whether or not you're an expert in the history of Belarus or the USSR or Soviet films in general, if you're willing to come out of your comfort zone, I do recommend The Savage Hunt of King Stakh. And that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for watching to the end. If you like these short movie reviews that I do, I have a whole playlist of them on my channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next one.